So, Revenge is a film starring Matilda and Ingrid Lutz, and she does quite a good job. I've had a look at the ratings of this film, and it's had some quite good ratings, and I can see why, but it's not a perfect film. There are a few things in here that really bothered me, but overall it is worth a watch. I'm not quite sure what the director was going for, whether it was some kind of thriller or art film or something. I feel like the director's like learning and experimenting with new ways of filming stuff. But I'm probably going to completely butcher her name. Her name is Caroline Fargeet or something like that. Anyway, yeah, I've just had a quick look on IMDb, and she has done a few things, so she's not completely new to it. But I don't know, some of the directing style just seemed a bit weird to me. It's like having extreme close-ups on things all the time, as if it's somehow artistic and meaningful. When I don't know, it just. There was the whole style of the film, but I just found it was unnecessary, like doing extreme close-ups on ants for some reason, or extreme close-up of a spider getting peed on, and I don't know, it just didn't, it was unnecessary. It wasn't vital for the overall telling of the story to have these weird close-up shots, and sometimes I felt like, you know, this is just trying to maybe explain what it's like to have an acid trip or something, and then there is a point where Jen, the main character in the film, does take a hallucinogenic, but there is a reason for that. She doesn't do it just to have a trip. There is a reason that she does it, which is explained early on in the film. So it's kind of like, because it's like, I'm struggling to get my words out. It's like the main bad guy, Richard. Is his name Richard? Hang on, bear with. Right at the very beginning of the film, the main bad guy, Richard, he gets given a hallucinogenic drug for, I don't know why, and then a bit later on he explains that the drug, if you take it, it can numb you, and he's going, oh, this guy cut his own leg off and he didn't even feel it. Of course, that was relevant to something that happens later on when Jen has been injured, and the way to like try and treat herself, she needs to numb the pain, and she just so happens to have this drug on her, so that's why she takes it. But even like before she's tripping, I just felt like, you know, they're just trying to go for this like weird thing all the way through, and it's like there's a lot of unnecessary shots in there, and there's a lot about this film that I thought was unrealistic. A lot of the way through I was thinking that wouldn't happen, that just would not happen. She should have died at the beginning of the film, and she should have really died. And then she survives. I mean, obviously she survives. The film's called Revenge. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, something bad is going to happen to her right from the very beginning, because the whole point of the film is something bad happens to her and she has to get revenge. It's in the title. So that's kind of predictable. You know that's going to happen. And you know that she's going to exact this revenge, because when it looks like she should die, it's obvious that she isn't going to die, otherwise how will she get revenge? And then I'm just thinking, no one would survive that. She is losing a ridiculous amount of blood, and somehow gets out of it, and then she cauterizes the front of her body, because she has this injury. I won't spoil how she gets the injury, but let's just say she should have also cauterized her back, and pretty much everything all the way through would be ruptured as well. So yeah, and then there's several other bits all the way through. I'm thinking that wouldn't happen, but okay, we'll just go along with it for the story. And then something else happens, I'm like, that's unrealistic, that wouldn't happen. But we'll go along with it for the story. And this happened quite a few times. And then towards the end, there's supposed to be building up this like big tension scene between Jen and Richard, and you know, the building all up. This is the big epic climactic final, and it just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't grab me. Well, I could see what they were trying to do, but it just sort of didn't work for some reason. I know I said that, you know, it's got a fairly decent rating on the like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, and I can kind of see why it's got a fairly decent rating on these things. But at the same time, I would personally have given it a slightly lower rating just because of the unrealistic things that happen through the film. I mean, yes, I know sometimes I like films which are completely stupid and unrealistic, like I like the Marvel films and stuff, but they're not trying to be realistic. They're from a comic book. This is kind of trying to play on some level of realism, and you know, if you're trying to play on some level of realism, then there's just certain things that just, I don't know, like when she cauterizes her wound, she gets a logo of the Phoenix because that's on the can, and you'll see what I mean if you watch it. That wouldn't happen. What would really happen is she'll just have a great big scar there. That's what would happen. It wouldn't have any fancy Phoenix things, but it's supposed to be metaphorical because she starts out as this young, naive girl, and then by the end she's some badass warrior woman. Well, not like a warrior, but you know, she's a badass woman who's not going to take any prisoners, and that's the idea of it. You know, she dies and then rises like Phoenix through the fire, and but so she has that scarred on her. But that wouldn't happen. It would just be a big blotch of a nasty scar. Of course, that wouldn't look very photogenic. However, despite all these faults, I did like the acting done by Matilda. I had a quick look on IMDb for some other stuff she's done. There's nothing I'm going to review at the moment. There looks like there's some divorce film that she's done, but that looks stupid. I don't think I'll watch that. And there's some other short films she's done. I might watch one that she's done called Rings, which obviously looks like a complete rip-off copy of like the Ring films, you know, where you watch it on a tape or whatever, and then you've got 7 days to live. I think it's a copy of that. I might watch that purely because it's got 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm thinking because I really liked her in this. Although the film has lots of faults in it, I actually liked the way she acted in this film and the way she was, basically. And I thought, okay, this is somebody I might want to look out for in the future. And she's done this film Rings, and I'm just thinking, I have to see it purely because it's got such a bad rating. Now, I've never actually seen the other Ring films. I know what they're all about. I mean, I think everyone must know what they're about, but I haven't actually watched them for some reason. But I might watch this one purely because a film that has that low rating has to be truly epically awful, and I like to just rip on an epically awful film. But that's in the future if I get round to it. But yeah, I mean, it's an okay film. It is what it is. She starts off naive, bad stuff happens, she has to get tough, she gets revenge, hence the title of the film. Film ends. That's basically the plot, really. It's quite simple and straightforward. She does a good job, the other actors are there, you know, they're adequate, they're not brilliant. The directing is adequate. Again, it's not brilliant. There's a lot of random close-up shots that, quite frankly, I don't understand why they're there. I mean, they could say maybe it's the art style they're going for. I don't understand why they've done it. It didn't make any sense to me why they were going for this look. Like it didn't need to be there. It really didn't. So yeah, if you do want to watch it, there is a lot of blood in this. All the way through, I was thinking, this person making the film has recently learnt how like prosthetic like blood effects were done in like the 80s and 90s, like before computer graphics and everything were really in there. So it all had to be like, all the special effects had to be moulded onto the body, and then had like the blood packs and stuff underneath. And I've seen like programs and documentaries about how they used to do the special effects. It looks like whoever made this film, I've forgotten her name already, it's like, oh, she's like learned. It's like, oh, this is how they used to do blood effects like 20, 30 years ago. I'm gonna go riot with it. Yes, let's just do that. Let's just go mad with the tomato sauce, basically. that's basically what it looks like. It's just like, how much blood can we have come out of somebody and they don't die? Yeah, that's basically what it looked like they're going for. And I really felt that that's what they were doing. Just to me, I was thinking, and it is, I mean, if you're squeamish, you might be like, it's not like the Saw films or anything like that. I mean, the effects look dated. They really do. It really does look like the sort of thing that, I don't know, maybe a film student might learn. It's like, oh, look, this is how they used to do blood effects, like, back in the day. Let's go nuts with it. That's what it felt like to me. I just thought I'd add that in there in case you wanted to watch it, but you don't like blood. Anyway, yeah, it's worth a watch. Oh, one thing I should probably mention, it's in French. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a little bit of English. That's kind of funny how that kind of slipped my mind. I've been reading subtitles throughout the entire film. My French isn't good enough to be able to watch the film without the subtitles. You know, but you can kind of guess what they're saying anyway. It's not a very dialogue-heavy film. But yeah, it's mostly in French with a bit of English. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. I don't know what film review I'm going to do next. Maybe I do Ring next, or Rings, whatever it's called. Because... yeah, just because it has such a low rating. I look forward to watching Matilda in future films. I think she's got a lot of promise in the future. The other three actors, I couldn't care less if I never watch them ever again. I think she has a promising future. We'll see. And alright, yeah, see ya.